Hello everybody, I'm Torit Mato and you are watching Art in Purulia. In this series, we have been discussing various aspects of painting using acrylics. If you have watched my earlier videos, you must be aware of the fundamentals of painting in general and acrylics in particular. Now it's time to improve further. Today we'll see some broader aspects of visual appeal, how we can use our compositional choices to make a painting more interesting, more engaging. Composition plays an important role in planning out a painting. It's all about how you arrange the various visual elements in your painting to communicate your ideas about the subject. This in turn makes the painting more meaningful, pleasing to look at, and can engage a viewer for more time than usual. Many times we get so engrossed in copying the reference that we forget when someone sees the painting, he is least interested in the reference, or rather, he is not interested in knowing how well you have copied the reference. So, the painting has to prove itself on its own. Most of us would agree that it's common sense to have the most important part or the focal point of the painting to be right in the center, but it's too predictable, like a passport photograph, and it's boring. But for very formal arrangements like a family photograph or so, it's the central position that's most preferred, though it may be considered boring. There are actually numerous ways how you can compose your painting. I'll discuss few strategies that can be really helpful in this. Firstly, hierarchy. It's one of the most effective and straightforward strategy. Make the most important subject the largest, the next most important the next largest, and so on. Not only the size matters but also what you place in the front. Subject in the front obviously grab more attention than those at the back. If there is no clear-cut hierarchy, a viewer will not know where to focus upon after having a quick glance at the whole picture. Next we'll see few theories that go on composition, like golden rectangle, golden ratio, and rule of the thirds. These theories suggest you to divide the painting space and arranging the composition around certain mathematical proportions that are considered most pleasing to the human eye. Many feel these are magic compositional strategies, but if we use these as solution for all compositional approaches, they can make the position of the focal objects predictive and repetitive. Focal point. The compositional considerations actually should be unique to each individual painting. If you just have a look around, you'll realize where your eyes get drawn. What draws your attention? Interesting angles, strong lines, sharp contrast, bright highlights, reflections, and can be anything not too normal. To improve your compositional skills, you can take photos of your subject from different distances and different angles to find out what looks more pleasing. Edge of the canvas. We often overlook or neglect this part of the canvas. This is where the painting ends and your frames will come here. They are equally important. It's the periphery of our vision. It puts a limit to our visual imagination. The edges can be gainfully utilized to take a viewer out of the canvas, and he may re-enter through either same object or a different object, may be similar, instead of having just a blank edge. Dynamics. Dynamics in simple terms are changes. So changes can be through contrast, color, or any other element. A dynamic composition has movement and compels a viewer to look from side to side and top to bottom instead of resting the view at one point. More vertical and horizontal lines make a painting steady, flat, and calm composition. For dynamic space and movement, more angular lines are required. Eye movement. As we read, if we read from left to right, let's say, our way of viewing a painting also is generally left to right, and it starts from top and gradually goes to the bottom. In these scenarios, our eyes generally enter a painting through top left corner, go to the bottom through the left, and then go right from the bottom, and again go up through the right and leave the space from the right top corner. Although it's just a generalized concept, we can use this to engage a viewer to keep within the canvas. If we want a viewer to come back to the painting after the top right corner, instead of leaving, we can place a thing that would bend an object back inside or get connected with an object that is inside. Now let's see how we can compose a still life. Practicing composition with still life is a great way to enhance observational and compositional skills. We have many aspects in our control like lights, angle of view, distance of view, arrangement of the objects, and so on. Let's make a composition with certain objects that make it dynamic. It should have variety of colors, shapes, sizes, and textures. It should also be meaningful and pleasing to the eyes. How we arrange the objects can elevate a few still objects to art that convey some meaning. It can convey some feelings and also some emotions. I have selected these objects for the composition. I am using an arrangement of objects like a table drape, a small flower vase with a plant, and a few more objects like the bottle and a still glass. This not only expresses my feelings with the day-to-day life, but also new lease of life and growth through the plant and greenery. We can check various layout options considering the horizontal, vertical, or diagonal angles and the highlights and shadows. We can also make some quick sketches from different angles and have a comparison to choose the one that suits the mood to be conveyed. We may also like to use a camera to help in our composition and finding the right ratio, or we can use our hands or a paper or cardboard rectangle, or we can use that as a viewfinder. I made 3 sketches from 3 different angles. I've tried to keep the compositional theories in mind as much as possible. Let me select this one for painting. While transferring the sketch onto our canvas, it's important that we preserve the ratio and angles. So first I'll transfer the sketch onto my canvas. I made the sketch using an HB pencil. I'm going to use a canvas with a dark colored background, mostly brownish green and red. I used the leftover paints of my previous painting to give a coat of paint over this canvas. I'll use a light paint to sketch out over the dark canvas. Once we get our sketch, we'll check the angles and proportion again and check the compositional aspects, angles of lines, contrast, highlights and shadows, etc. Then I will apply the dark and light values first before applying the midtones. This is the first layer of blocking in. Need not be exact with all aspects. This whole first layer I will do with only black and white, and we'll wait for the layer to dry. In this painting I am trying a method called Grisaille. In that mostly people use brown for a monochrome underpainting, but I'll be using black, which you will realize is very strong for a monochrome painting, and over which I'll apply the glazing. So it will not come as exact as the original is, but it will have its own beauty. But definitely you will understand the process of Grisaille in this painting demonstration. So let's go ahead. Here I'll start using glazing over the monochrome painting what I did earlier, and I'll introduce colors to the areas where the respective colors will fall, and gradually refine also the highlights and shadows. Values are quite important here, and you would have understood that initial first layer was quite important. Also, we need to use the right color for shadows. It's always good idea to use cool colors, especially some blue and violet. While applying the colors, we need not define all smaller details, but must be able to get the values and colors right. We should be able to bring out the various values in all the different colors. You may not be able to get the shades at one go. You may have to get the shades right through trial and error. The various shades of green, the folds of the cloth, and the shine of the metal may be important aspects to note and emphasize. You may like to switch to smaller brush as you get down to painting the details. I don't want to give equal importance to all the objects, so I like to make the steel glass as the focal point, and will paint the aspects in much detail in comparison to those of the vase or the plant or even the bottle. At this point, I'll also see to it that the background is slightly blurry and dull enough not to grab attention. To get the organic shapes such as folds of the cloth, rolling a round brush does a good job. The thickness automatically gets varied. Finally, I'll enhance the highlights and shadows a bit more and call it finished. In fact, calling a painting finished is a very tough decision. You may be tempted to go on and keep refining the shapes and shades forever. So friends, that's it for the ideas of composition and still life. There are too many things to discuss, but I have just summarized it to bare minimum. We'll meet again in the next video, wherein I'll discuss various aspects of painting landscapes. It may take a few sessions, since there are quite a few different types of elements in our landscape that we'll deal with, like sky and clouds, mountains, water. Water can be of different variety, flowing, ocean, lakes, and so on. So till then, stay safe, stay healthy. See you.